There have been dozens of Star Wars games over the years, some great and some not so great, all in the name of our favorite space fantasy adventure. Despite all the games being movie tie-ins to Star Wars, I've always felt that Star Wars games had great direction and design. LucasArts and developers sat down and said, hey, let's make a game where you're an overpowered Jedi. Hey, let's make a game where you take control of an X-Wing fighter. And hey, let's make a bad Mario Kart ripoff. Like I said, most of the games were good. Today, we're talking about the games that have some obvious direction, but because they were executed so well, it left a legacy with both Star Wars fans and gamers alike. Games that since its release seem to be cursed, and games that mean a lot to me personally. So, grab your overpriced merchandise because this is a review of Star Wars Battlefront and a look at the newly released Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection. Oh boy. Star Wars Battlefront was released on September 20th, 2004, and Star Wars Battlefront 2 was released on October 28th, 2005, both being developed alongside the current and upcoming movies of the prequel trilogy. It is a third-person shooter resembling that of the Battlefield franchise with its class selection and large maps. That's right, for the first time, Star Wars wasn't about Skywalkers or fighting the Empire. It was about putting the player into epic battles that take place within the movies. Because sometimes the Skywalker space opera drama is too much and all a guy or a gal really wants to do is just...
Roger.
Gameplay is virtually the same across both games, and I'll be jumping back and forth to make points, but just know that there are a lot of similarities but also some differences that make both games worth it in my opinion. The games are broken down into 4 modes: Campaign, Galactic Conquest, Instant Action, and Multiplayer. Yeah, that's right, the original Battlefronts had multiplayer, where you could yell profanities across the galaxy, all thanks to something called GameSpy. Thanks, GameSpy. The Campaign mode is a series of battles that have a small narration before each one begins, somewhat lining up with the order of the movies. In Battlefront 2, however, players get a much more immersive experience and play through the Rise of the Empire campaign, which places you in the boots of the 501st Legion during the waning months of the Clone Wars and the rise of the Galactic Empire. Battlefront 2 offers a little more depth to their campaign by adding some more complex objectives besides turning the droids into a scrap heap, capturing specific command posts, eliminating a certain target, or returning a special item back to his CP, all within a tight time limit and strictly reduced spawn tickets. All of which now is some of the best narration in Star Wars from Tamara Morrison, who plays Jango Fett in the clones from the movies. I mean, come on, just listen to how epic this is.
My first day as a member of the 501st. It was hot, was sandy, chaotic. Nothing at all like the simulations on Camino. Of course, that's pretty much the way it was for all of us, wasn't it? All that breeding, all those years of training. It doesn't really prepare you for all the screaming or the blood, does it? Frankly, I'm still amazed we ever made it through the first hour. Never mind the first day.
It paints a much darker story of the clones and how they were bred for war and how the Jedi Purge was something they knew was going to happen. And that the Jedi, while strong, were certainly not invincible. I could talk about it until the Banthas come home, but I don't want to spoil anything because I think every Star Wars fan should experience this. However, my favorite moment from the campaign is the mission that crosses factions. While playing as the Empire, you must destroy a reignited droid factory on Mustafar.
By the time we'd made our way to the molten surface of Mustafar, it was apparent that Delso had been a busy little bug. All by his lonesome, he'd found a previously hidden droid factory, fired it up and cranked out his own private army of battle droids. Needless to say, this got the men of the 501st a little hot under the helmet, and not just because of all that lava. Truth be told, we'd all had our fill of those gearheads during the war, and we couldn't stomach the thought of going through another one. So we blew them up. Blew up the droids, blew up the factory. Damn near blew up the planet.
For Galactic Conquest, players get to live out their Palpatine fantasy of ruling the galaxy by choosing what planet to conquer as their favorite faction.
King in the castle, king in the castle. Have a chair, I have a chair. Oh, go do this, king in the castle.
In Battlefront 1, there aren't as many planets, but there is planetary bonuses. Each planet has 2 maps, and both maps need to be won in order to claim the bonus, which can be used to help you conquer other planets. Bonuses like extra reinforcements, sabotaging vehicles, and the ability to have a hero fight alongside you. Battlefront 2 adds some light RPG elements to the mode by adding even more planets that only need to be conquered once over, but instead of perks, they provide credits to purchase new fleets and bonuses. Fleets can invade planets and engage in a space battle to destroy an enemy fleet from the map. And this time around, there's even more bonuses like enhanced blasters, auto healing, and auto turrets set up on CPs. Galactic Conquest is a great mode that adds a long game of strategy to the gameplay formula and was sadly missed when it wasn't added to the EA Battlefronts. Jumping right into gameplay, we'll take a look at Conquest mode, which is the bulk of both games. You have a choice in what faction to choose from, either the Republic clones or the CIS battle droids from the prequels,
Roger.
or the Galactic Empire and Rebel Alliance from the original movies. You also get to choose what type of soldier class you want to play as. Each class has its own abilities, strengths, and weaknesses. There's a standard trooper with a standard blaster, sniper, anti-vehicle, pilot, and special trooper that's unique to each faction. Once you've chosen a class, you enter the battlefield with dozens of other AI-controlled troopers and fight to take control of command posts, which determine not only how fast spawn tickets deplete, but also points of respawn for your team. The team who depletes their numbers faster loses. While all 4 factions have the exact same type of units, there is a decent amount of variety for a 20-year-old game, both good and bad choices here. What's good is that all the units in the game are mostly balanced. What's bad is that, well, there is some balancing issues in my opinion. Of all the 4 specials, the Droideka with its speed and shield and rapid-fire blasters just stand out. So much so that in Battlefront 2 to balance things, you actually need a certain amount of kills to even play as your faction's special troopers, and there's even a unit cap. I'd also like to argue the Super Battle Droid having access to a secondary shotgun when most soldiers only get a lousy pistol is a big advantage too. Of course, I also have to mention the infamous wrist rockets, which are so much better than grenades in the game. Please, guys, watch out for those wrist rockets. Overall though, for single player, it doesn't matter too much, even with the addition of 4 new special troopers added to Battlefront 2, like the Clone Marine with the chain gun, the Magna Guard with the mini rockets, the Imperial Officer's launcher, and of course, the weird Rebel Smuggler's fart gun. I've been comparing the 2 games because Battlefront 2 does what every sequel should do. It gives you more of the stuff you love while adding more. The 2 biggest things here would be space battles and the ability to play as heroes. In Battlefront 1, there were 4 heroes that could assist in battle by smashing their glow sticks on people's heads, but you couldn't play as them, and they were invincible. The only way to get rid of them was to knock them off the map, which I'm pretty sure is only possible in Cloud City. Since they were so tough, it leads to moments like this. Battlefront 2 not only adds 3 times the amount of heroes, but also allows you to play as them. Obi-Wan Kenobi, Darth Vader, Jango Fett, Luke Skywalker, Mace Windu, and the Red Devil from Insidious. They kind of work like kill streaks in Call of Duty. After a certain amount of points earned, you can play as a map-specific hero. Some are better than others, and some factions luckier than others. A hero's health is displayed in a lightsaber-style meter that slowly depletes over time, and the only way to replenish it is by killing more enemies. All force-wielding heroes can super sprint and super jump, as well as use up to 2 force powers. The blaster-wielding heroes are just more like souped-up troopers in disguise. As for space battles, Battlefront 1 did have starfighters available, but only ever on land to spray down enemy vehicles and soldiers. Battlefront 2, however, adds the much-anticipated space battles with some small variation in ship choice. In space battles, you earn points by destroying enemy ships and disabling the enemy capital ship, which there's actually multiple ways to go about it. If pod racing is more your speed, then hop into the nearest starfighter and start blasting, cadet. There are standard fighters, which are all around, interceptors designed for taking out other starfighters, bombers designed for taking out capital ships, and a transport that allows you to spawn on it once it's inside the enemy hangar. Instead of destroying the ship from the outside, you can actually infiltrate and destroy some key components from the inside, using a time bomb from the pilot or a rocket launcher from the Marine. This is exactly what I mean by good design well executed. Battlefront 2 provides the scratch to the itch that everyone had for space combat, but just in case, it gives you more ways to play. And that's really impressive from a game from 2005. For a game from its time, it offers a lot. Like I said, the game most resembles the Battlefield series, but there are hints of Call of Duty arcade action as well. Like for instance, the weapon kill streak upgrades. Earning a certain amount of points in each class and each life will upgrade your weapon to a more powerful version. Although, there does seem to be better ones than others, and in the case of the upgraded rocket launcher, it's actually worse than the base one. But overall, Battlefront 2 is an improvement. As far as visuals go, the games have aged. The Classic Collection does do a good job of upscaling the games to modern hardware, but I can't really gush over the graphics like in other games because there is a few rough spots. Maps and vehicles certainly look amazing, and with a decent amount of detail too. Naboo City looks awesome. I mean, where else can you see a scout trooper's ass looking so good?
Hey, what you doing out here with all this ass? Double cheeked up,
on a Thursday afternoon, hella ass, the sun is still out.
However, looking over the balcony on the Jedi Temple map reveals some less than appealing background work, as you can pretty much make out the entire map's skybox. And on large maps like Kashyyyk, there's even some rendering issues, which, hey, it's a pretty ambitious game for a PS2, but you'd think they would have cleaned that up just a little bit for the Classic Collection. As for in-game soundtracks, they're all taken from Star Wars, so it all sounds great. There's not much I can add to that. Sound design is even better, from the sound of ships, blasters, and even some battle commentary. It all feels pretty immersive. Now, lots of people have reviewed these games, and when I make my videos, I do my best to make the community laugh while providing something different to separate my views from the rest, and try and give a somewhat fresh perspective. So, something I really appreciate about Battlefront is the attention to detail and lore, and the developers using stuff that's lore-friendly from outside the movies. For 2005, that's almost unheard of, especially when there's so many other games from that time that were just supposed to be cash-ins. For example, the Droid Sniper and Droid Gunship, they're from the 2002 animated series, but they put them in this game. And the planet Renvar with its 2 maps, yeah, that comes from a comic in 1998. For Star Wars fans, that's huge. And I think having accurate lore from outside the mainstream content adds to the world building of Star Wars, which is arguably the best part about Star Wars. It's just a fun world to live and breathe and learn about. On a side note, another thing I really love about the Star Wars Battlefront games as a gamer is just there's tons of maps and tons of content in these games. More than any modern shooter could hope to have at launch, because, you know, gotta drip feed content for the Battle Pass. Most of the maps in this game are pretty good. They feel well designed, even with large armies and vehicles added to the mix. I would die if Call of Duty put more than 10 maps in their new games, and over 80% of them were actually well-designed traffic maps. Some maps in Battlefront even feature special modes like Hunt, where you get the opportunity to play as the planet's native species against one of the regular factions. My favorite being Hoth and playing as the Wampus. Just cool to stomp rebels, man. In conclusion, the original Battlefronts were amazing games, and sure, today it sounds very easy and very obvious that there would be this kind of direction for a multiplayer shooter set in the Star Wars universe, but to pull it off in 2005, that is very impressive. These weren't games about Luke Skywalker and the Force, they were about fighting alongside your favorite characters and destroying the enemy as a soldier on the battlefield. Movie-accurate locations, weapons, and ships, all from our beloved tale of space wizards with daddy issues. Imperials, rebels, clones, and droids.
Roger, roger.
Fighting for galactic supremacy on the ground and in the stars above. The games are not perfect, there's some overpowered BS, rough graphics, and just a general stiffness about the movement. I mean, you can't even vault over small ledges in this game, but shooting controls are still tight thanks to a modern design that was ahead of its time. I dare you to go back to some of your favorite shooters from the past and just see how clunky they handle. You can make new Star Wars content, but you can't take it away when it's at its best.
You thought it was over.
In good faith, I can't leave this review without talking about the Classic Collection and its release status. Its horrible release status. If you want to play a $50 upscaled campaign from 2005, then I guess it's worth it. Other than that, I'd stay far away. The promise of doubling player counts, updated graphics, and new bonus DLC sounds awesome. If the game was shipped properly, it sounded great to me. During my review, I encountered new texture glitches that weren't there in the originals, and while capturing game footage, I had multiple game crashes. A game from PS2 running on a PS5 crashed multiple times. Might have something to do with the game's ridiculous file size at 70 gigabytes. That's more than 10 times the originals. Oh, and of course, there's the multiplayer. How could you forget that? The multiplayer was a mess at launch, with thousands of players trying to hop into servers where in my case, I could only see 3. 3 servers on PlayStation. 3 servers on PlayStation because there's no crossplay. And when you did join, it was a laggy mess. Skipping, lagging, and hit detection, nowhere to be found. Which is also what the player base is right now, nowhere to be found. A mere 2 months later, at the time of this video's release, the servers are dead. You cannot find anyone to play these games with. There are more players in decades-old Call of Duties. If I wanted to experience internet speeds from 2005, I would buy 30 minutes of America Online so I could browse the Scholastic website for dumb shit. So I could show my MSN girlfriend what an idiot I am for buying an eraser bigger than my head that has seen less mistakes in the Battlefront community. The Classic Collection wasn't coming with a Battle Pass or was going to be supported for 5+ years. We knew that. We just wanted someone to put a little love back into one of the Star Wars community's favorite moments. All it had to do was work. We got screwed around with EA Battlefront, and we lost out on Battlefront 3. Seriously, go look up the leaked footage of Battlefront 3. It is some of the best gameplay I've seen for a PS3, Xbox 360 game, and it's only in an alpha stage. It's the best game on PS3 and Xbox 360 that we never got. But with this game's messy release, the saddest part is it's probably killed interest in the franchise for a long time, continuing what seems to be a curse of the series, a series that deserves more, for fans that deserve more. Before I actually go, guys, I just want to say thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the content. I've got more long-form game reviews on the way, as well as some other stuff that I'm cooking up. Can't say it, though. Maybe surprise. I don't know. Something cooking. As well as posting shorts here almost daily. I'm always posting here on YouTube. And I also stream here on YouTube and Twitch every weekend. Same channel name, Big Chetty, 8 Eastern Standard Time to midnight every weekend, Saturday and Sunday I'm streaming. So drop by and say hello. I promise it's a lot of fun. My mom thinks I'm cute and funny. Come on, it's a lot of fun, guys. Anyways, I love you so much. More stuff from me coming soon. I'll see you soon, guys. Bye.